Go for it.
Up next on Inside ChampCar, Average Joe's at Sebring. Welcome to this edition of Inside ChampCar. I'm Brian Bielanski. Bill Strong is here. How you doing, Bill?
Up here, down there.
Up there. There we go. And over there, is Justin Garvin. How you doing, Justin?
Hey, good. How you guys doing?
I'm doing good. Welcome to the show.
Appreciate it.
Thank you for being with us. I apologize for the delay, folks. Had a little bit of, it's technology, and I'm an old guy, so sometimes I have to fight with it, right, Bill?
Like me?
Yeah, you don't know anything about that because Bill's technologically perfect.
Probably can't hear us right now. Can you guys hear us?
I hope so.
Yeah.
I hope so.
Yeah, hopefully. Hey, we just got back from a place called Sebring, Florida.
Yeah, what do they do there?
I don't know, but not sleep. That's one of them. That was, some of us were up at dark 30 in the morning, and because that's the normal time we get up.
Yeah.
And we didn't start racing till 6 in the evening. Some of us might have taken like a half-hour nap or whatever, and then some of us didn't take any naps. I think Paul was one of them.
Wow.
And then we start the race at 6 p.m., which meant everybody had to be on site at 3 o'clock for ChampCar.
Nice.
Struggling or running around trying to get teams. We had a lot of teams not show up until Saturday, which was pretty cool.
Okay.
Because you didn't have to take Friday off.
Right.
Just come to the track on Saturday, get teched, and go racing. Which meant that we struggled up in the tower trying to get everybody, set up in Flagtronics and getting them set up in the transponders, getting all those matched up. So, but yeah, other than that, it wasn't a huge deal. We got it done. And guess what? We started doing at 6 p.m. We did not go racing.
Why not?
Something about Florida and rainstorms. And when we say rainstorms, it's like, going to the beach and you have big surf and it just washes over on you. Yeah.
Monsoon.
It was like that monsoon stuff, man. It was pretty wild.
A gully
we had
washer?
about an hour and a half of that.
Nice.
Maybe. And then before you knew it, it dried up. We didn't even know it rained. The track got out their vacuum cleaners and their jet blowers and started blowing off. I'm like, no, just let them race in the rain. But no, they had to dry it off for that. And that actually helped the guys out because, there wasn't a lot of big puddles out there to hydrolock these cars.
Was it still daylight out when you started?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it was light.
Okay.
I think it was, right, Justin, it was light for maybe an hour.
Hour and 30 minutes, maybe.
Okay.
Like that.
Yeah, we asked all the cars to start with their lights on, and that way we were able to test them, make sure everybody had their lights, because nothing is worse than getting into the dark and suddenly not having lights. We had a car that, a Mustang actually, that kept losing its lights. He'd go out on track, he'd have lights. He'd go around one or two times and wouldn't have lights. So he had to come in a few times and fix that because you kind of need to see out there, especially at Sebring.
Yeah.
It was a fun time had by all, almost. Justin.
Had by most.
Yeah. Justin was leading this race on and off throughout the day and night, I should say. Dude, the little Miata that could, man. We had a couple of them up there,
Yeah.
Folks
Yeah,
are
it was
saying
definitely Miata show.
Folks are saying Miatas aren't fast enough. We get these emails every day. You need to give Miatas more points, but man, the Miatas are kicking butt at Sebring the last year or so. What's up with that?
Well, I mean, that Clark Motorsports, they maintain the car for Whiskey Tango Foxtrot, and so both of them are very well maintained. And then, of course, my car, it's all I do. And then, of course, the Nemesis car made it back out this time, and they're always fast. So, yeah, that was it. But then there was like another team like Blue Steel, which I recognize the name, and they were right up there as well. So, yep, a bunch of fast Miatas.
So we skipped the question, Bill.
Well, he's been on the show before.
Oh, yes?
Yeah.
The problem is, Justin, is that we've
Wait,
now
yeah.
done so many shows
Yeah, I know, right?
that
Sure.
I heard, this is what I heard. When you meet Justin for the first time, he says, "Hey, did you see me on my show?" Is that true? I won't tell you who told me that.
Yeah, there
He might,
was a time.
he might be a little guy.
I apologize.
That's right. I don't talk about a certain car all the time. So
You know,
Oh,
I'm doing the countdown, waiting for you, Bill.
it's okay. I'm not going to do it, man. I did it. I've done it too many times today in meetings.
my
You know what
drink
I
is
saw?
over there.
You know what I saw on Marketplace today, Bill?
And
Oh man, a GT.
a Toyota.
a Toyota GT.
All right, so Justin,
Yep.
you've done all kinds of things from motorcycles to auto racing to this. Wait, this is auto racing. All right, so the big complaint recently, we do these surveys. I'm going to send out another survey to all the racers at Sebring this last weekend, probably tomorrow. But the big complaint's been code 35s. Guess what? We did not have a lot of. We had 5 total code 35s for 12 hours.
It was pretty wild. It was wild. I mean that completely killed our strategy because we're so used to so many of them. But it was awesome because we stayed racing.
You know what helped?
Yeah.
I think what helped was guys actually pulling off into those little orange, where they have the orange paint on the fences, pulling into areas like that where they could do a hot pull real quick, or just pulling off at the track at the exits. There's exits. All tracks have exits where you can pull off safely.
Well, I mean, at the end of our day, unfortunately, with me driving, I just quickly flew past code 35 guys and got off the track so that I could let everybody else get back to racing. So, I was going to apologize to Jackie for that, but I knew she would understand if she understood where I was coming from. So I just didn't want to hold other people up for racing. So,
yeah. Well, we'll talk about that in a bit, but the racing itself to start off with, that was really, really good racing today, or Saturday, Sunday, whenever the hell we raced. When did we race?
Saturday and Sunday.
Yeah.
I tuned in at about 11 o'clock my time.
All that.
That would have been, 12, 1, 2 a.m.-ish. And it appeared that there were still a lot of cars on the racetrack, and it appeared that everyone was having a pretty darn good time from what I could tell from afar. And then I said hi, and then I decided that I was tired. So
I mean, it's a rough time. I tuned in early morning, and it was quiet, and all of a sudden Paul spoke up, or Tiffany spoke up, and I was like, okay, so they're still awake.
Yeah.
That's good. Wait, Paul's still awake?
Yeah,
This is crazy. Paul never does the overnights, but he did. He did an awesome job this weekend, guys. So if you see Paul, thank him. He
really did. They both
all
did.
by himself.
And Ryan was up there talking to them as well.
Yeah.
So that kind of helped keep the show going. So.
Yeah, Brian's awesome to talk with and chat with, and he's
I know
very
I am.
He's very knowledgeable about that track.
The other Brian.
Yeah, the other Brian. Sorry, the other Brian. Yeah.
It was cool because at one point you had a camera out the broadcast window, and there was just enough reflection where I could actually see Paulie doing this thing.
Yeah.
But that was awesome.
So we didn't have a lot of code 35s. We did have a couple local yellows because they needed to be able to pull the cars, safely off, or hook them up and get them going, get them out of sand traps, stuff like that. Then a lot of black flags to start off with, and it was mostly 4-offs. Did you notice a lot of guys doing 4-offs, getting a little squirrely in spots?
I really didn't. But at the pace that I was going by everybody, I mean, I'm just kidding.
You're focused on one thing, and that's getting by everybody.
Yeah.
And if they're in your peripheral and they have nothing to do with you, you don't even think about them.
Yeah. Well, by the time I actually got out there, it was, I think, midnight at least, or maybe later. I'm not sure. By that time, track was mostly dry. I did find out in a hotel in turn 7, right? Turn 7, yeah. That place where you would normally go through that dip was wet. I found that out the hard way. But yeah, after that, I stayed away from that. after
Oh,
that.
that thing, it's like a bump now, right? It's like a big piece
Well,
of concrete.
no, it's still a dip down in there, but it was full of water, and so when I caught it just wrong, yeah, oh, that was not good. So anyway, I stayed away from that after that, and then of course exiting out of Tower, you get out there on that little bit of rumble strip on the outside, where it was wet, and that was a little shaky. So I try to stay away from that as well. But outside of that, man, I was really surprised with the level of grip that the car had everywhere. So,
You're running
but
what, 285s on that thing, on that Miata?
225s.
25s. And no, wait. I thought
Yeah.
Miatas all ran those really big, wide 15s or something.
Well, there are people with different theories about things, and my theory is that the car is light. It doesn't make a ton of power, and so I mean, why do you need something so big and heavy rotating mass? I mean, I don't think it does. So we're running the 225, and it seems to be working for us. But I know that Nemesis, I think they run 255s, and that's what works for them. So
And you both have the same chassis, right?
yeah, with the same chassis. I think they have like an NC2 or NC3. So there's a little bit of geometry differences on those. But I think they don't have aero, and then come to find out, sorry Grant, sorry, what's his name? That they got some cheaty suspension that they had to get docked a couple laps for. But
They misinterpreted the rules, but they fessed up and it got put in.
yeah. I mean, he was straight up about it. So and unfortunately, I found this out after the fact, because had I known that we weren't chasing them for those extra 2 laps, I might have done things a little bit differently. But it's still ultimately my fault. I mean, I knew when I got out there the second time I was too tired. I had been up for almost 24 hours and I shouldn't have been driving, but
Hey,
it is what it is.
okay, let's go into that. Let's talk about that. So I've been there too. As a team owner, you're the team owner. You're
Mhm.
you're getting the car ready. You're up bright and early because you got nothing else to do, and you're so focused on let's make this car the best I can.
Yeah.
And you're doing that. You're corralling drivers. You're corralling crew. You're making sure your car is places it needs to be at certain times. You're where you need to be at certain times. We start the race. Now you're worried about your drivers. They're complaining about everything. And you're throwing answers like just drive faster and stay out of the grass, things like that. And then it's your turn to get in the car. And you've been
Yeah.
so focused on everything, which is exhausting. You
Right.
probably haven't ate very much. You probably haven't drank very much. So what
Yeah.
happened?
Well, actually, so we were only getting about just a little over an hour and a half on fuel, because we switched from the 2.3 to the 2.5. This recent race that we did with another organization, we tried the 2.5. It was on Uber Lean, but come to find out that was the mass airflow sensor. So now that the mass airflow sensor is good, it was running really good. In fact, too good. It was running using too much fuel, and so we weren't going the distance. So that was a huge factor. And so I just thought, you know what? What's There's that possibility that the race gets called early for who knows what, fog early in the morning or whatever the case may be. So I wanted to get in a fast stint, another fast stint, because John drove first, and I knew I had the potential to drive like that. So I drove after everyone else got in the car, because that's what I like to do. I like to make sure everyone gets their time first. And I did. I got in, but I was making mistakes. I I missed a gear. I downshifted from fifth. No, I went to go to third. I don't remember. I was tired, and I went to the wrong gear, and so I knew that earlier on in the night. But so then John gets back in the car, he crushes it again, and then Brian gets in the car, and I feel sorry for Brian because it's only his second race. Period. He's done some track days and stuff like that. He's from Texas. He's never been on Sebring, and then my lighting, the headlighting was terrible in the car, especially the right light. And I mean, so anyway, so he did incredible for considering. But
What
but
Brian is?
what's that?
What's his last name?
Blanchett.
Okay.
Blanchett. He raced with me at NOLA a couple of years ago, and that was his first race, and he did incredible. He was only a couple of seconds off my time, and we got up into the lead and stuff like that. But anyway, So when he was out his second time, the wing broke loose through the trunk material, and so the wing was hanging down. And so he brought it in, and we said, you know what? Let's just tear it the rest of the way off because we've driven without aero before. Well, the problem was my homemade splitter that I use various materials from the car to make. I'm not going to go through all my. So anyway,
So that was
now
at
we
that was at 3:55 a.m. when the corner worker called that your wing was falling off.
yeah. So now we have no wing, and we have this makeshift splitter that I put on there. And oh yeah, you know what? Since Sebring last year, we also used in other parts of the car to make canards and stuff like that. And apparently they're working because they're working so well. It pushed the bumper back into the tires and burn off the backside of the front bumper. That's how well those things are working. So the car was gripping incredibly throughout the race. We just had bad lighting. So needless to say, Brian goes back out there without the wing, and he's like, "Man, this thing's undrivable." He's like, "It's so sketchy because now the front's pulling down so hard, it's making the back end really, really light." And I was like, "Nah, that can't be. That can't be." Well, we said, "Look, just back it down, do about 6 more laps until we have just into the window to get the last driver in." And so the last driver happened to be Clinton. And Clinton's like, man, you know the car better than I do, and you'll be faster than I am, so why don't you take it? And I was like, oh man, I was so tired because I had been up since 5:45 the day before. But I was just like, you know what, I'm gonna go out there. We had said, like, look, if we just maintain just a chill pace, we'll end up fourth overall because that's kind of where we were. But we had the potential. We were on the same lap as Clark Motorsports. We could potentially run them down, and of course, I didn't know that Nemesis was going to get docked 2 laps also. So anyway, I go out there and start blasting away, and the back end was real dancy. And so then I hit Bishop, which is a high speed left hand turn, and sure enough, the front end was getting sucked down, making the back end light. And so the back end came around on me, and the second part of Bishop, and then as all she wrote, I mean,
At 4:37 a.m. in 12 seconds, turn 15, car 121, impact the. And yeah, you were, you ended up. The wall was okay, but the car not so much okay.
Yeah, it's way better than it was with after Road Atlanta last year from that collision with Roy and 45th parallel. So it's way better than that. I'm happy about that. But what I was concerned about was the radiator being busted, and it was because the guys were like, "Look, if you just go circulate, we're 11 laps up on Ding Dong. So we could just go circulate." But I'm like, I'm pretty sure the radiator's busted, and it was. So we would have popped the motor somewhere around the next lap, whatever. So I just decided to start the car up and just immediately get it off the track, so I wasn't causing anybody else to lose track time. And I passed all the people on code 35, and and then came to Jimmy, and Jimmy started putting a timer on the car. I'm like, I don't think I'm going to need that, buddy. He goes, yeah, you're probably right. So, and I went right back to the RV, and that was it. So
yeah, that sucks. I mean, we've been there too before, where it's you're doing well at the end, and then boom, something stupid happens.
It's all hindsight now. With sleep, you think about things so differently. I think about, man, how much better would have been just to finish fourth place. Who cares? Finish fourth place, just take home the fourth place and first in class and Mazda money. It would have been $600 in Mazda money, but now nothing. So it's one of those hindsight things.
So talking about the sleep thing. As the team owner, you feel like you're responsible to do all the stuff and make sure everything's ready. In hindsight now, are you gonna try to find someone who you can maybe hand off a little bit of the duties to? Is there someone already part of the team who you can do that with? So you could have even grabbed 2 or 3 hours sometime during the day on Saturday, so that when you got to 2 or 3 or 4 a.m. on Sunday morning, you might have not had those issues.
Brian said duties.
I know that's.
We're all 12-year-olds here.
I do kind of have someone like that. Jason, a good friend of mine, and his dad come down and they help immensely. And I mean, and they just do it because they love the sport. And so they do. But man, I literally work every day from the time the car comes home from the race until the car is getting loaded up for the next race, whether it be physically on the car or mentally in my head on things that I can do, repurpose materials or whatever the case may be. I mean, the car and the team is average Joe's because it looks very average, but there's so much time invested into it. I almost feel like it's not fair to the other teams because I'm retired and this is all I do, man. I mean, I really focus on this thing because I want to win, and I love the camaraderie of my teammates and myself, as well as the other teams. But to answer your question, Brian, I have Jason and his dad, but I can't let loose the reins, So unfortunately, I did try to get a nap that day. I wanted to get a nap, and I was falling asleep, but I had someone come by, and I even said that I need to take a nap, but they just wanted to keep talking.
Was that
So
Ed?
I won't mention any names.
Was that Ed?
No, it was somebody else. I'm not going to mention a name. In fact, after I told him I need to take a nap, he sat down and continued to talk. So
that was psyops. That was another team psyops.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Coincidentally, he wasn't racing that day. He was just there visiting. But yeah, it made me feel like that. It was like, oh, well, let's hear Justin's secrets. Let's make him tired by not letting him get a nap.
Well, usually give up those secrets when you're tired. Now, there's we have one 24-hour race, which is a VIR 24, mostly attended by folks in the mid-Atlantic / maybe some Northeast and maybe a couple of Central, maybe a couple from Florida, but not that many. Do you think not having the experience of those overnight sleep-deprived races kind of affected some teams?
Yeah, I could definitely foresee that. I mean, but to be honest with you, unless you're in a job like a doctor or something like that, where you're up all the time, staying awake all the time. And to be honest with you, I think that's a horrible business plan. Having someone that's taking care of your life be awake all the time. I mean, that's when you're most likely to make mistakes,
right.
So nothing against doctors, but I think that's a terrible idea for hospitals. But anyway, so regarding the 24-hour thing, like, we're going to be there. That's the next race that we're doing. And I've done it for so many years. I've always just gone and raced with Visceral or with some other team because I didn't want to have, the responsibility, because it's a big deal.
Right.
I mean, this was just a practice for that, really. And it's so difficult because, again, being the owner, in fact, I sold all the seats. I'm not even going to drive that. I didn't think I was going to drive this race either because of the fact that it was supposed to be a 12-hour, and I already had 3 drivers. So I figured if we do 2-hour stints, I won't get to drive. But then I thought, well, we'll do, a Coke 35 thing, which there weren't any, and I will get the last stint. But then the car was driving, it was, only doing like an hour and a half or hour and 40 minutes on fuel. So that completely changed the strategy. Anyway, going back to your question, sorry.
That's all right.
The 24 hour is difficult for anybody, I believe.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, you definitely have got to have a lot of extra people there so that way you can, get some rest time in. So.
Right.
Yeah, it's tough, man. People don't really know. Even though it wasn't a 24-hour race, you have all the 24-hour aspects of it, which is dark, which takes so much out of you.
Well,
right.
But go ahead.
I was just going to say, and I agree with you on the hospital thing. Bill and I met because a good friend of his and I worked together overnights at a hospital in Charlottesville, Virginia. And it's an awful business model for someone who's actually worked in it. The other thing about the 12-hour through the overnight is when you're doing a legit 24, I think maybe even the mindset's a little bit different because you're like, it's 12, it's only 2-hour stints. I don't have to prepare for it maybe like I would a 24. And then you get there and go, holy crap, I probably should have prepared for this just like it was a 24.
Yeah, no, I think you have a very valid point there for sure.
I think you get yourself into kind of a false sense of security when that's only 12 hours. It's not that big a deal.
Right.
See,
exactly.
And I took it. Now, I know you guys prepare a certain way. Drivers and team owners and the crew all prepare a certain way. Staff, because we had to do the same thing. It was only a 12-hour, and I kept telling myself, this is only a 12-hour. 12 hours to me are always the hardest. 14s are not that hard for some reason. 12s are the hardest. Don't ask me why. I don't know. They just are. But I prepared for this. I stayed up 2 in the morning, 3 in the morning every night for a few nights up to the race. It was hard to do on the last night because we'd done all that traveling. I was dead. And then it was like, okay, I'm just going to grab as much sleep as I can when I can. And I kind of did that, and it worked. I think it was like, what I say, like 5:15. I know where I had just told Jackie, 45 minutes, 45 minutes left. And I remember closing my eyes and then just, it was that jerk, you make as I'm thinking, I'm going to fall into my keyboard. That would be like the worst to do, because I know Troy would have had his camera there instantly. But yeah, it's tough for a lot of the folks of the staff itself. And I remember at one point, so ChampCar is doing verbal penalties. If you do 4 off, we come up and tell your team, hey, that's your first warning.
Right.
The second one is we call the car in to have a talk with you. Third one is we pull the driver out for that stint, put a new driver in. And if you do another one like that as a driver for the rest of the day, you're out of the car for the day. So luckily we didn't have any of those. We only had we pulled the driver out of the car. So we only had one of those. But it got to the point of so many people were doing 4 offs late at night that our staff was like, we can't do this. We can't keep walking up and down pit lane. So we just basically said, you know what? We're just going to put it in the logs, and it's up to you as a team principals. We let everybody know. Go to the logs. Look at those.
Right.
And yeah, and I think we're going to start, and that seemed to work okay. And I think we're going to start doing that from now on, that teams are going to have to start watching that log and, just look for your thing. And plus I was doing announcements too. And I think some people seem to like that. So I'll still like your feedback on that if anybody has it.
And if you've done a 4 off, so then you got to take a peek at the log. Hopefully your driver tells you if they've done a 4.
Rental drivers, though, they don't always tell you what they've done. Even your best friends don't always tell you what they've done.
Yeah, I got to look at the data today from my car and saw some RPMs that I realized now that I didn't hand out the driver agreement, because 2 of the guys have raced with me so much that they know this stuff. But the other guy, Brian, he only raced with me a couple of years ago and hasn't read through that driver agreement since then, and I've updated it, obviously. So yeah, the RPMs that I saw, I was pretty astounded. I didn't even know the car would go that high because this is a different tune than my 2.3 tune. So yeah. Anyway, I need to correct that and make sure that regardless of whether I know these guys really well,
right,
to make sure they read and sign that driver agreement beforehand.
So zing is not a proper RPM limit.
Exactly.
And I always put a sticker right there on the dashboard, right in front, that said, "This is your RPM limit. Please do not exceed."
Ironically, Brian.
Wait.
I'm trying to remember who it said. Should we put a piece of tape over the RPM? I'm like, no. That just kind of gets in the way. I've figured this out over the time to where it ends up being over the needle. When you're at that RPM. So like, nah, we know. But no, you're right, Brian. We should have put it.
Yep.
We should have put the piece of tape right there at the RPM at the limit.
Well, so you drove Ron Visceral, right?
Yeah, a lot.
Okay, so my one and only time driving for Ron, he says, "All right, I'm going to make up an RPM. I forget what it was. He's going to say, don't go over 6,000. 6,000. That's it. Don't go over that." I'm like, okay. 6,000, I'm shifting right before the bridge at VIR, just at that little road there. I'm like, okay, this is good. It feels like I get more. I look at his videos. He's like 7,500 RPM. Well, again, I'm making up numbers, but
yeah,
he's way up there. And I'm like, come on, man. No wonder I was.
With the 2.5, you shifted at 65. With the 3.0, you shifted at 6. That's the difference. Yeah.
Right. That's the one thing I miss from racing formula cars. When you had analog gauges, you could actually turn the gauge so that straight up and down was red light.
Yeah, mine's like that.
And on a street car, you really don't have that option if you're using the the OEM dash cluster.
Right.
If you have an AIM dashboard or something, you can make it scream at you when you've gone too high. But
we have the AIM Smarty, or the AIM whatever DL2, and it has the shift lights on it. But apparently, Brian didn't realize that's what those are for.
That's what he says anyway.
Faster.
Yeah. The longer you stay in the red, the faster the car goes, right, Justin?
Red means you're smoking hot, apparently. Exactly. I guess, I don't know.
Exactly. We shouldn't laugh, but that's actually kind of funny.
Yeah, I mean, the engine's getting swapped out before VIR, because I told all the guys for the VIR, they begged me to do this race. I shouldn't say begged me, but they wanted me to bring the Average Joe's deal to VIR. So I said, okay, well, if I do, this is the price, and I'm going to put a new fresh motor in and fresh hubs, so that we have the best possibility of making the whole race. And so that's what I've got to do in the next 6 weeks.
I don't agree. I think a well-used engine, they're the best before they go.
Well, that is true.
Yeah.
There's some truth to that. But seeing how high this thing got revved at this race, I'll let someone else take this motor and go have fun with it.
Increases the compression as the piston, pushes that top of that head up a bit. Makes a little more room in there for air.
That's how those Opals
run. The better, the more it compresses, the higher compression ratio. That's
I brought it up. I didn't even wait for you to bring it up. I brought it up.
and Bill, you got your engineering degree from which esteemed university?
Yeah, United States Air Force.
Oh, exactly. Exactly. That's good. So VIR is up next for you, Justin?
Yeah.
And have you done the 24 before?
Yeah. No, I've done it. In fact, the 24 was the first race I ever did with ChampCar back in 2014. I did it with Elon's team, and that didn't go so well. So then I got my own car and learned a lot, and then I rented some more, and then me and a buddy put together a car, and then I put a V6 Miata together, and then that car has seen every variation of all kinds of engines since then. But then the Nemesis car, I'm getting off subject. Yes, I have done the 24-hour quite a bit, actually, but never as the owner. Actually, I take that back. We did the 24-hour at Homestead many years ago in my Integra, and man, that was brutal, because it started at midnight on New Year's Eve. Started midnight New Year's Eve and went till midnight New Year's Day, and that was brutal, because kind of like this race, you're up all day waiting for the race to happen.
Right.
You can't sleep because everyone's running around with their engine, revving up and down, doing testing and stuff like that. And so you're just miserable, and then the race starts at midnight, down there. So so this situation, it started at 6. But yes, to get back to your question, I have raced several 24s. I did the Nelson 24, which, man, geez, that was visceral. And I just try to tell these guys, look, all we got to do is just do 18s and we'll win this race. But one of these guys had to go try to show us, these Spec Miata guys try to show us how fast he could be, and ended our race under 5 hours. And we were leading the race.
Troy was in that car too.
Yeah. So, man, it was so frustrating, because I told Ron literally a lap before, like, please tell him to back it down, because something's gonna happen. Sure enough, he hit the wall hard enough to where it broke the oil pickup tube inside the oil pan.
Ooh.
And then he drove it back to the pits with no oil pressure. So,
wow,
it was fast then.
So
what did you learn this past weekend at Sebring that you're going to use at VIR?
I am going to not drive. I have enough drivers to where everyone can get enough rest in between, and I'm just going to focus on making sure the car and the strategy is as good as possible. Because the strategy is so much of it.
Right.
It's not just the driving. So if you're pitting under green, and then, like, Nemesis managed to catch the code 35 right as we go out, code 35 comes in, and then freaking Nemesis comes in. So So yeah, I mean, if you can manage to catch those code 35s and stuff like that, to pit under those, yeah, the strategy is huge.
I think we're going to talk to VA. It's always up to the track, but it's like, how many hot pulls can you do? Can you do a hot pull on this without going to code 35? VIR is a big track.
Yeah.
So we're gonna try that.
Yeah, well, there's not as of right now. There's not as many cars as there has been in the past as well. So
right.
that will help with hot pulls.
Yeah, but it will pick up. We're way ahead of what we've been in
Yeah,
the past.
yeah, I think so. Over the next 6 weeks.
Which is really crazy. It's like, people were worried about it, and then it's like, I don't think so. And
Yeah,
there's some models, and it's like, wow, we're actually way ahead of what we should have been.
Yeah.
Well, it's always the same thing, right? People are trying to get through Autobahn, trying to get through these races to make sure they're going to be ready to go do the 24, and then they start registering in for it. So yeah, I think you're right. It's going to pick up.
63 right now for the VIR 24. So
what's that now?
63. So
yeah,
wow,
yeah.
So
and more coming every day.
We got 27 people watching and only 10 likes. So
come on, people,
smash that like button if you have not subscribed. I mean, Justin says smash the like button, folks. It's not just me.
Yeah, definitely. I even put that out there on the Average Joe's page. Yeah. I said, please tune in and please hit the like button.
My boss is listening. I'm trying to justify all this. Come on, guys.
No, absolutely. I mean, if you go on the Average Joe's Facebook page, you'll see it. So
yep.
I put the link in. Yeah, you're absolutely welcome.
I even put it on my grandmother's page, because you never know. They're it all over.
Thank you, Garen, for hitting the like button. Appreciate it. Yep. Timothy's here. Yep. John Wittenauer's here. Clive Bogle's here. Fred Wolf. All of the many of the usual suspects. Hello, everybody.
Hey, guys. And girls. And others.
So what do you recommend for people running their first 24-hour or overnight race? You commented about your lights. That seems to be really important. Lights. So.
Oh yes, lights. I thought you said likes. I'm like likes. Lights. Yeah, I mean. Actually, my lights at Road Atlanta were so good, and I'm gonna admit something right now that I'm probably gonna regret later. But Friday night, I went in the RV and sat down and fell asleep. Didn't mean to, but fell asleep and didn't wake up till the next morning at 5:45. And at that point, the sunlight was starting to come up. So that was when I was supposed to be going out. I was supposed to go out during the nighttime and check them and make sure they were all good to go. And so, needless to say, the right headlight was down too far, and so they weren't where they were in Atlanta. And I thought they were going to be so much better because I was actually running a set of Apex lights this time too, and it wasn't good. And so for me and John, we know the track really, really well. And even with the wet conditions, John crushed it. I did okay. Clinton did well as also. Brian did the best he could do with the conditions of no lighting and never have been to the track. So yeah, I mean, you really want to test your lighting before you get to the track because stuff happens. You fall asleep, whatever the case may be. I told my buddy about it, Mike Ogren, that has the VW Miata shop over on 41 here, and he sent me a link to some lights that he uses, and I'm really excited about them because currently my lights are very difficult to adjust. I mean, very, very difficult to adjust with the bumper on, like almost impossible. Where these, I'll be able to adjust them with the bumper on by reaching up, from behind the hood and adjusting them. So I'm really excited about it.
For those going out and getting lights, I would stay away from those single bar lights because there may be changes coming in the future. Remember, we've got new management, new ways of doing stuff, so that may be going away. Those single blinding light bars that, the Cyclops where you can't tell where they are in your mirror type thing. So, get shorter ones, maybe that you could put on each side of the car.
Right. Yeah, it's important that you have two different, a left side. It's almost like the port and starboard lights on a ship. When you look in your rear view mirror in the dark, especially in a dark place like VIR can be at night. When you just see one big light coming at you, you're not quite sure if that's the right side of the car or the left side of the car. and
Yeah.
you use that as you're trying to let faster cars go past you. So yeah, it's
I
really
thought it was I thought it was a good idea until I got in the pace car at Nelson Ledges, a couple years ago,
yeah,
and the one Porsche was behind me, and I honestly could not see where he was.
right.
All you just saw was this, in the mirrors. And I just thought about what was that like to drive with something like that in a race car, where I'm much lower, obviously, than a SUV.
Right.
It was the worst. I did not like it. It sold me on the hey, let's go to putting the lights back into the corners where they belong. And these guys are smart enough; they'll figure something out to where they're blinding everybody again here soon. And but you should be able to see where the car is in the mirror.
But going to that point though, talk about that single light though. If you've ever been out on the road and had a car coming at you that has a light out, you almost think it's a motorcycle, right?
Yes.
So
Yes.
you think it's a motorcycle that's further away because you only see the single light, right? And then as it gets closer, you're like, holy crap, that's just a car with the light out.
Right.
And that's that same scenario when they have that single light set up on their hood that you can't really tell if is that a car that's far away that has two lights that are just very bright and they're and it's making it look close together when the reality is it could be a car that's right behind you because of that big single light bar.
I get the same effect with those blue and red lights behind me sometimes. So,
Yeah. Heard that about you, Bill.
yeah, they disappear quickly.
All right. All right. Anything else for Justin before we let him go, Bill?
Yeah, that's I think that's about it really. We're 9:45. So yeah, that's man, that was sad seeing you guys get knocked out like that, but would have been cool to see you up there only because you're a yellow team, and yellow teams are always the best in my book. Not those, funny clown colored green cars.
Yeah, I will say though that while I was waiting for Brian to bring the car in, I was standing there and closed my eyes while standing there, and that same thing like you were talking about, that you almost fell asleep at 5:15 on your,
Yeah.
and so while I was standing there, and so I was thinking I can't go so slow that I fall asleep driving.
Right.
I mean, how terrible is that to think something like that? And I'm one of those people, like for example at NCM, when a Code 35 came out, we were definitively in fourth place. No one was catching us, So I just said, look, here's a Code 35. One of the guys didn't get to drive much earlier in the day, Jerry. So I radioed in and said, hey, is he still in his suit? Because if he is, let him drive. Because I hate those situations where I'm not chasing somebody, I'm not chasing a position. I don't want to just turn laps, you know what I mean, and just be on the defense of just making sure we stay in that spot. I like to race, and so anyway, that's another interesting thing is to say, look, if I'm too tired to stand up here, I don't need to be driving.
Yeah, that's 100% true. It's scary. You can mess yourself up. I got into a bad enough wreck where I got a brain bleed and a concussion, and my ADD went away for a bit. But yeah, that was like the worst time ever for me because you have no control over it. It's just like you have to take the pain, and I didn't want to get back into the car again for a bit because what other kind of damage could I do?
Right.
And it's just bad. So
Yeah.
but yeah, you're right. You were lucky, man. Your wreck was not that bad. It looked worse than what it was.
And looking back at it now, I mean, because when you're under the pressure of the race, you're like, just get back out there, right? But had we just drilled 2 new holes for that wing mount and just quickly, I mean, it would have taken a few minutes. We could have put the wing back on and got back at it. But I mean, when you're under that pressure and you've had no sleep,
Yeah,
you've been up almost
bad
24
decision.
hours.
You make bad decisions, and I think so that was another thing that we noticed. Like there were times, and you can see it late in the stints of these cars. Guys are starting to go off. So it's like, hey, go talk to that team, see if their driver's all right, because he was not making any mistakes until now.
Mhm.
All of a sudden, it's like 2-4 or 1-4 off. Then a lap later, it's 2-4 offs, or even just a turn or two later. Like, dude, you might want to look at your driver. And it was warm. It wasn't hot. I mean, it was hot, but it wasn't super hot. And
Uh, I I jumped out there so quickly. We made this decision so last second. I didn't have my cool suit shirt on,
Oh,
so
shit.
my first stint I ran with no cool shirt, and then the next time when I went to get out there, the one plug didn't get plugged all the way in, so it just shut off, and I didn't even realize it. So, but
Yeah.
it's all in the past now.
Do
Yeah.
you wear the Walero underwear, or is it just the cool shirt stuff?
Just the shirt. Actually, to be honest with you, I bought that shirt in 2014, and I've used it maybe 5 times.
Dude, those things are awesome.
They
I don't
are
even,
awesome.
yeah, I don't even wear a cool shirt anymore. I just use the whole underwear set.
Okay, and I have the chill out system. I bought it last year, and I've used it. Well, we've had it in the car 3 times, but me personally, like up in Atlanta last month, I didn't even use it.
Well, you're a
And then
real
when
man. You're a real man, so real men don't need cool shirts.
Before we let
I take that back. I did try to use it, but the O-ring on the thing broke, and so it discharged all
All the
the
look.
coolant in it, and so it shut off, and so I
Yeah.
didn't use it though, but for the 2 hours that I was out there.
You're what service did you serve in?
Me?
Yeah.
No, my
You
son
served-
is in the Navy.
That's right. I knew somebody was.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry. Yeah, Navy. Oh, sorry.
says the Air Force
Half
guy.
half our staff was in the Navy, so
Yeah, I mean Andrew is awesome. Yeah.
Justin,
All right,
anybody you
Justin,
want to
hey-
thank before we let you go?
I want to thank all my guys and the staff and everybody with ChampCar. I mean, thanks for putting up with me. Thanks for helping out as much as you all do. I mean, we are like a family. I mean, we really, really are.
Thanks, man.
Very cool. Very cool.
Love you too, man.
All right, Justin, take
Hey.
care. Good luck at VIR.
And thanks for
Appreciate it, man.
racing with us, man. We really appreciate it. We know you guys can go race elsewhere, and thanks for choosing ChampCar.
Absolutely, bud. Thank you.
It's a sales pitch.
There we go.
All right,
See you
Brian.
guys.
Thanks, man.
All right.
All right, we got Nelson Ledges quickly approaching. Somebody just told me it was next week. I kind of freaked out for a millisecond. Not really next week. It's like, 2 weeks, week and a half, something like that.
It's not
Right?
too long.
Yeah. All right. Still trying to recover from this race last weekend. That was hard for us, man. It was tough, but talking to crews, talking to racers and folks at Sebring, and people just coming up to me, let's do this again. The overnight was awesome.
Very cool.
And I was like, okay, I got to convince the boss into it. So, luckily we haven't talked to the track about next year yet. So maybe we can discuss it again and see what we can do. Who knows?
Yeah.
I love to do it again. I love these long races. So they're hard, man. As I get older, they get harder and harder, but I think it's doable.
Cool.
It's something different. And that's what I think we're going to be doing. We have the leadership now that I think likes doing things a little differently.
Right.
We'll see me and Mike Chiswick. So we'll see what we can do. So
Well,
we got Nelson Ledges coming up. 2 idiots in a garage. I think they're going to win this thing. Right?
wow. That's a bold prediction.
I know. I think everything is going to come together for Timmy. I
Okay.
really do.
Turtle in victory lane.
Who knows? Or even up on the podium for class. Who knows?
Yeah.
Class. So we got a whole bunch of folks going there that weekend, though. That's going to be putting down some fast laps. I think Bogle Legacy Motorsports (BLM) with their Porsche 944. That's the old Visceral Racing. A new number on him this year. He just put 40 on that car. That car's coming out. They're going to be good. Battle Scar's going to be there. Bavarian Mustache Works. They're always a favorite at some of these races. So, that might be a car to beat.
Yeah.
That's a C-Class 325 IS. But who else is going to be there? Hound Dog? Hound Dog's coming back. We haven't seen them in a bit. Money Shift Racing's going to be there with their Civic. They had an accident with their car under testing recently.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, they were, I think they were either Mid Ohio or Nelson Ledges. But I think it just scratched the new wrap they had, so they'll have to get that fixed. Nichols Racing will be there. North by Northeast Racing. Rad Air has a couple of cars coming out. They're always they're little Dodge Neons. They're always in the hunt there. Red Baron Racing. Section 8 is going to have one of their Ford Mustangs there. I think one of their cars got pretty mangled up this past weekend. But knowing him, he'll have those cars all back together by 3 p.m. tomorrow. Yeah, that man just works. Sennhauser Racing will be there. State Focus, Salins. Well, I don't know. You think Salins can do it at Nelson, their home track?
I thought Watkins Glen was their home track.
Well, they're from Ohio.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So, Mr. Salins from Buffalo, New York.
Okay.
But the Makers are from Ohio.
Got it. Okay.
So, Venomous Racing and Whitnauer Motorsports, the F-Class Mini Cooper, third place recently with that. Was it third place? Yeah, they got third place recently overall. So, who knows? Are they the only F-Class car in this race? Yes, they are. So, who knows? And Z-Tech will be there with their little Porsche 944 too. So
I'm going to go way out there and tell you I think Whitnauer is going to win F-Class.
I think so.
Yeah.
They finished third overall recently.
Okay. All right.
So, that was big, man. An F-Class car finishing first or third.
Yeah.
In a pretty good field of cars. So this will be interesting. And I'm not saying that because he's on the board of directors.
I didn't even know he was on the board of directors. Wink, wink, nod, nod.
He's one of our new guys. And then we head off to the VIR 24 coming up. That's going to be a fun one. Right now we have just keep scrolling. 63 cars signed up. We do have a limit. Keep going though.
Yeah,
it's up there, but we do have a limit on how many people we can fit on pit lane. Lots of folks. It looks like Good, Bad, and the Ugly. They've got 2 Corvettes, one EC powered and one D powered Corvette. Hard 6 Racing. That's Ben Keating.
Oh no.
Yeah, Hard 6 Racing has got 2 Integras going there. I got asked to race for them, but I kind of can't race now because the boss said no racing. You either work or you race. So
can you take a weekend off?
A driver for him. I haven't told him yet, but I've lined up a driver for him that now works for Rivian.
Wow.
He's one of those guys, and he's really good and good West Coast driver. Let's see, Marathon Motorsports. They've got a couple cars coming. They blew up a motor, which is kind of rare for them. They blew it up under testing.
Yeah.
At Sebring. So they'll get that car fixed up. They'll have it out there at VIR. But of course, in LS Racing, if they can keep everything together, they can do it. But Average Joe's always a good one, man. If you can get it together in time, get that car tuned and AFR's correct and tire pressure set right on those 225s or 210s or whatever he's running on, those little skinny tires he runs.
306s?
Yeah, the all-weather tires they run.
That's right.
Yeah. So I think he can do it too. There's a lot of guys that can win this. Rockwell's going to be there with like 10 cars or 3. I don't know. RVA Graphics and Wraps will be back there with some cars. I talked to Donnie the other day, and he's ready to go racing. Sparrow Speed will be there with their Porsche Boxster. They didn't have a good time at Watkins Glen, but they got a lot of good testing in. I think that as they develop that car, they're going to pick it up, and Sparrow Speed's always a good team to watch for. On to Team Research, they had one of their cars wrecked, so they at Watkins Glen wrecked pretty bad. So they're bringing a car out from the West Coast, and they'll be them, and that's an actual factory Honda team. So those guys are always one to watch.
Nice.
Tater Racing is going to be there. Team Bruce Innovations, Team Oversteer is always one to watch, and the Green Machine is back. That EC car. Track Car Rentals, Trophy Wife Racing, and Tuath Auto Sports returning to race with us. All the way from the Great White North of Canada, and Wheels America Racing, and Williams Racing Group. So lots of good teams showing up to VIR 24, and we're coming up in July. We're looking at Thompson Speedway in August, June 25th, the early pay, and we got a lot of entries for that one. I think we're up to 25 entries on that guy. And then Mid-Ohio. So the Mid-Ohio early pay ends July 9th. That's coming up in about a week.
Yeah.
Right now, 31 entries, and there is a entry maximum because we can only fit so many people in the paddock. And the pit lane. So get your entries in if you're going to do Mid-Ohio. I'm going to be sending out an email later on this week saying, hey, you guys got to pay up if you want to get that, save your $200 off your entry. And then, of course, Harris Hill, Texas, coming up September 21 and 22. Their early pay ends July 23rd. Save a few bucks there. Harris Hill is always a great track to go to. And if you haven't been to Harris Hill, you need to go. That is, it's near Austin, Texas. You know, I don't know. There's some other racetrack there. Caba, I don't know.
Copacabana.
Who knows? It's just some little track.
At
but Harris,
Dakota,
that's the place to go, man. It's a hell of a track. Scary
track.
as hell to do it right.
Yeah.
And then we go to Pittsburgh International Raceway. Early pay ends August 6th on that guy. 8 + 7 hours there. Again, we're going to be sending out a big email. Road America, and that will be the end of my streak of going to races because I have to go to a wedding.
Oh.
Yeah. My son's getting married. So, yep, got to go to that. So I tried to figure out how I could get there and not miss a race, but the wife looked at me and gave me that, if you do this, you're dead. And she just took out another $1 billion insurance policy on me, so I think she's planning something. She's preparing in case I figure out a way to skip out. So, but yeah. And then, of course, we have 4 or 5 races after that. And, but yeah, we're ready to go racing. It's going to be a fun year. And Mike is almost done with the 2025 schedule.
Nice.
We've got a lot going on right now. We've got our rule book that is shaping up for next year. The board's working on the petitions. What else is going on? Oh, we're working on a new numbering system. So I was going to start sending out emails but Mike has decided to go a slightly different route. We are going to be redoing the numbering scheme system for the permanent numbers. Right now, it's just hit or miss. If you've got a permanent number, I'm pretty certain you're going to be able to keep it. But it's going to be a better system. We're going to get rid of all the old numbers that are no longer used. I don't know what we're going to do with them, but they're going to be put away somewhere. We know we have cars out there that haven't raced with us for a long time that maybe those numbers don't exist anymore. Those car numbers don't exist anymore. So he's cleaning it up. So we're going to get that working. What else is going on? I think that's about it. Do you have any questions, Brian?
What is the meaning of life?
47.
47 is the meaning of life. Very nice. Very nice. So, no, it was, it looked like Sebring was fun. You mentioned, we doing some things a little different. I think it's cool to not do the same thing every year, Maybe next year it's not a 12-hour in the overnight at Sebring. Maybe it's something else, or maybe it's an overnight 12 hours somewhere else.
Well, Mike talked about doing a 7 and a 7.
Okay.
But they would start at 4 and end 7 hours later.
Oh.
Something like that. It would be sort of like a 14,
yeah,
but without the daylight part. It would just go straight into night. With a couple hours of daylight.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's I kind of like the stress of the 12-hour.
Yeah.
It's something that's different. It's something I think a lot of guys weren't really prepared for. It's only a 12-hour. But come 3 and 4 o'clock in the morning, then you, as a driver or an owner, you've been up since probably 9 o'clock in the morning, if not earlier.
Yeah.
And it puts a lot of stress on you, and you don't think about doing those little quick naps.
Yeah.
If you can just sit back there, put your headphones on and your earplugs under that, maybe put in some Linda Ronstadt in your ear or something, and just fall asleep real quick, and just getting that little 10-minute shut-eye is the difference between night and day.
So which Linda Ronstadt song is your hype song, Bill?
Actually, mine is I've got a few of them. Some songs from Starbenders, a little punk band out of Atlanta. That's kind of they're pop punk. That's kind of my thing. Right?
I always thought a great format for a 24 would be 12p to 12 to midnight, and then 5a to 5p.
Oh, pretty much like any race that Troy has ever done over a 24-hour.
There you go. No, but you see,
Always like, we're in last place because we keep breaking something. So let's just all go to sleep at midnight. Then we wake up at 5 a.m. and go race again.
yeah. But I mean, no, you get into the night. You wake up. You still got to do some darkness hours, hopefully, especially if you don't do it in June. 5 a.m. it'd still be pretty dark, and so you still get to cross over that daybreak kind of thing. And then you do get to do a little bit of sleeping, so everybody's a little fresher on Sunday. I think and you park for May in the middle. I think that'd be fun. Because I'm old now. This whole 3 a.m. stuff for me.
We talked about doing a quad 4. One of our staff said we should go to a certain track and do four races at 4 hours apiece.
Okay.
Maybe this track doesn't have track, where you can leave the track during the race.
Right.
No bridge or tunnel.
Okay.
So,
that'd be good for Hallett.
Everybody's thinking about what track is
Hallett.
I don't know.
But Hallett, you can now leave.
Hallett has a tunnel.
Yeah.
Hallett has a tunnel.
I know.
So, but yeah, it's one of those things. We're throwing out ideas just to make things different because
Cool.
it's kind of stale. You know who's going to win the 8 hour. You know what kind of car is going to win the 7 hour. The 12 hour. Well, that's up. That's going to be these guys. But how about a 4 hour race? Or how about a 3 hour race? I remember those back when we did the sprint races. But you do a bunch of them, and you have to have at least a driver change somewhere along the line.
Yeah, and do park for May.
Between to do a 4 hour race with a couple of 4 hour races with a 1 hour driver change.
Yeah,
that'd be kind of cool.
Let's mix it up. Mix it up.
Yeah, who knows? Mike's pretty cool about that stuff, and we talked about some other things about some. I know we had some pit timer issues, a couple of them. We are and I saw it on Facebook where somebody, or maybe it was a forum, somebody posted about it with Flagtronics. We are working on those. We have something a little different than other series have when it comes to our pit stops. Some series don't have a minimum time on pit lane. You just come into pit lane, do a certain speed, do your fuel, driver change, whatever, and boom, you're out of there. Well, ChampCar requires a 5-minute stop. So, so we're looking at different ways of doing stuff. Hell, I could give you some idea of what we're looking at, but that would be too nice. I'm just gonna leave it a surprise.
You could take the time away, but make the driver get out of the car during fueling.
And run around in circles. They have to run around the car 3 times.
Just get out of the car.
Then they have to hold a lollipop. Little things like that.
People see what I have to deal with week in and week out. People,
we're going to try some different things. Who knows? Some may work, some may not. Everybody may hate something, or a certain style of racing or whatever. So I still want to go to Talladega. I think Talladega would be awesome.
You know what I can guarantee, Bill? I can guarantee one thing. I don't guarantee very many things. Like the Wittenauers winning F class. I don't guarantee very many. I can guarantee you one thing: no matter what you do, now you will always find at least one person who wasn't happy about it.
Oh yeah, we know that. And we still listen to them.
Yep.
Because you never know; they might have a really good point.
Yeah.
Or not. But
you don't know.
Yeah. But yeah. All right. So I'm going to be sending out everybody that raced with us this past weekend. I'm going to be sending out a survey. Please answer it truthfully. And it's it helps us. The last couple of surveys we did, we took under advisement a bunch of ideas.
Yeah.
And we have changed some things that we're doing, either through our staff or organization. So hopefully making it better, and we're trying to grow and make things better, make it better for you guys. So
awesome.
And hopefully you don't see these changes because it just
happens.
You have a great weekend.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's please return those surveys once I send it out. I'll probably send it out tomorrow.
Cool.
But yeah, and Nelson Ledges, I'll send you out a survey too.
Nice.
So, all right, guys. Again, we'll be sending out a bunch of emails. One coming up explaining the early pays. We got some news coming out from Mike Chiswick soon. Just don't know when I'm going to be able to get that out yet. We got rule books coming out September 1st. We got VPI changes coming out any minute now. I think I'm waiting for a couple of stuff back from the board. Once we get that done, get the data cleaned up, and we send it over to our programmer Wiz Rob, and he'll put it up on the database, and then I'll be putting the rest up online, and you can see where your car stands for next, for whatever they're doing. I don't know.
Cool.
Yeah. All right. I think we're done because we're way past our hour.
Yeah, not way past, but we're past enough. All right. That's going to do it for another episode of Inside Champ Car. If you like what you heard, subscribe to the podcast so you won't miss any episodes. It would also be great if you share it on your social media channels. Comment on the ChampCar Facebook page, especially if it's a good one. Bad comments, put them on Bill's page. He's Bill Strong. I'm Brian Bielanski. You're listening to the Racing Wire Podcast Network, and you are watching ChampCar Live. Have a great week. Go have fun and go play with cars.
Thanks, guys.